racks in the cops, so I gotta hide it. All on my top, put all of my dick in the stomach, I give it a Heimlich. Really was broke, I come from the bottom of New York, now I need the finest. All of my bitches, they be the finest. All of my diamonds, they be the finest. All of my fabrics, they be the finest. Went on the ladder and came at Staggy. All of these VVs, now they blind. I know my persona, really enticing. Brought on that pussy, just like I'm Tyson. Hit on that pussy, just like it's lightning. Back to that money, I'm not dying. I got a touch for the money like Midas. Out to my hood, I try to unite it. I know the feds, they wanna indict it. Gun in my leg, I come invited. Run on with drip, them boys are biting. She love with me, got her excited. She like the nigga, no stones on my ice. And I got a touch for the money like Midas. Out to my hood, I try to unite it. I'm on the block with the snakes and the rest in the cops, so I gotta hide it. All on my top, put all of my dick in the stomach, I give it a Heimlich. Really was broke, I come from the bottom of New York, now I need the finest. All of my bitches, they be the finest. All of my diamonds, they be the finest. All of my fabrics, they be the finest. Put on the ladder and came back striking. All these VVs, now they blind. No rubber song, really enticing. Bought on that pussy, just like I'm Tyson. Hit on that pussy, just like I'm lightning. Best of that money, I'm not dying. I got a touch for the money like Midas. I got a touch for the money like Midas. I got a touch for that money like Midas. All of my bitches, they be the finest. All of my diamonds, they be the finest. All of my fabrics, they be the finest. They be the finest. They be the finest. They be the finest. They be the finest.
Hands up in the air, unified and bold. Shoulders locked tight, stories untold. This is the camaraderie, the brotherhood flow. We all stand in that for the people we know.
Field Marshal Brother Nazir, never back down. Talk your talk media, word spreads around town. Big dog, Philly OG, wisdom in his bark. Big aboriginal power, lighting up the dark. He Norfolk on the line, speaking truth through the static. Open the knowledge, mind sharp, automatic. Churry's the realest with that unbreakable stance. Bro Sanchez bringing light, giving minds a chance. Dangerous music, Drake Cobbs on the sound. DJ Cuddy spins it, our anthem hits the ground. T wriggles, Dulcinea, voices join the crowd. Smoke signal in the air, make the ancestors proud.
We all stand, we all rise. Act for our people, open up our eyes. Linked by legacy, forged in the fire. This is camaraderie, we lift each other higher.
We lift each other higher. Supreme Chief Holiday, guiding with honor. Voodoo Child channel spirit, the feeling is stronger. No one left behind. Every name is a torch, lighting freedom's path. As we move off the porch, every voice different, but the heart's the same. We paint our own future, signing with our names. Forged by the struggle, united by the fight. One dream, one people, together in the light.
We all stand, we all rise. Act for our people, open up our eyes. Linked by our legacy, forged in the fire. This is camaraderie, we lift each other higher. Hands clasped in a circle. Ancestors hear the call. Past, present, future. Together we won't fall. From the roots in the soil to the stars in the sky. Voices echo strong, let the unity fly. We all stand, we all rise. Act for our people, open up our eyes. Linked by our legacy, forged in the fire. This is camaraderie, we lift each other higher. We lift each other higher. We all rise. Act for our people, open up our eyes. Linked by our legacy, forged in the fire. This is camaraderie, we lift each other higher. This is for the people, our movement, our pride. This is camaraderie, we stand side by side.
Morning, Pete. Coffee's on and your Uber.
Shout out to everybody that's in the building, man. Make sure y'all hit that like button, come up the video, and support the channel, man. You already know the vibes, man. We're going to get right into it. Salute to everybody that's in the building with me. Make sure y'all smack that like button. Let's go.
Yeah. Wild Indian, yeah.
Hey, V, line them up.
I'm a wild Indian, you know I go crazy. Ain't really Indian, that boy Fugazi. I just keep it player, you can never play me. You got an ass so fat, girl, let's make a baby. And another one. Then I'm back to the trap, I'm trying to double song. She a bad woke chick and I love her tongue. We some jurisdiction boys, we some one-on-ones. Look, don't compare me to no Martin dog, I'm like Malcolm X. Die about our freedom, we'll leave a crack and stretch. Round of applause, boy, you know we clapping text. Chucky dog, child play, yeah, nigga, that's what's next. Open up the cans just like Arizona. Pull up masked up like we got the Rona. We set up jurisdictions when we buy the corner. How you claiming that's your hood and you not the owner? Be the B, I just pulled up in the need for speed. Free the land, tell the colonizers that they need to leave. Wild Indian up in my veins, you know how we bleed. You ain't gotta lie about who we is, dog, just keep it G. We at war, we can't keep the peace. Since we at war, gotta keep the peace. Whack a cone, then I meditate. Should I need to breathe? Keep a Olmec head when we slide, dog, cause we the shit.
Like my niggas said, bitch, we the shit. I can't keep the peace. If it pop off, then I want a piece. I'm just on release. I'm in go mode, motherfucker thief. In these streets like EBT, when we at war, make peace with me. I don't give a damn, understand. Fuck who stole this land, white or black or tan. Understand, it's fuck who stole this land. Might have seen me get little buddy these hands. He wasn't no abo man. Now these dudes is Sambo man. They full of shit like my ammo can. What they call an N-word out the wrong mouth, that's an ambulance. Wild Indian, get it in advance, or you can post date it. Ask around, I'm the most hated. Straight sacred, they stole acreage. Go ape shit, show ain't shit. It won't be televised, I don't tape shit.
Be the B, I just pulled up in the need for speed. Free the land, tell the colonizers that they need to leave. Wild Indian up in my veins, you know how we bleed. You ain't gotta lie about who we is, dog, just keep it G. We at war, we can't keep the peace. Since we at war, gotta keep the peace. Whack a cone, then I meditate. Should I need to breathe? Keep an Olmec head when we slide, dog, cause we the shit.
Salute, 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 salute. Peace and blessings. Peace and love to everyone that's in the building. If y'all ain't here with me, drop those fire emojis right now. Let your brother Big Aboriginal Power know that y'all are rocking out right now in the building with us, man. Y'all already know how we coming. Salute to the real ones in the building. We're going to get straight into it, man. Y'all already know the vibrations family, man. I already know what's going on. Y'all already know what's going on. We're going to be dealing with some American Aboriginal or American Indian erasure. In this particular case, we're going to be highlighting what we will now call the Black American Indian process. So shout out to everybody that's in the building with me. I hope you guys are ready to rock this one on out. Salute to the real ones in the building. We just came off a classic build that we just did, dropping some of the fire information, getting into some of the top facts of the matter. If you didn't get to check it out, I will be reposting it so you guys can be tuned in and tapped in to all the latest content. So salute to everybody that's in the building. Peace and blessings to everybody that's listening in. Salute to everybody that's in here, and shout out to all the busters that's in the building listening in that ain't gonna hit that like button. Y'all go ahead and hit that like button, share the live stream, sprinkling and spread it around like bush tobacco. Y'all already know what we're doing. All the busters in the building, all the real ones in the building. Y'all already know what we got going on, man. Shout out to everybody that's in the building. I'm not going to hold y'all guys up any longer, but let's get straight into this heat. And if y'all ready to go ahead and rock the house out, drop a fire emoji and say, let's go.
For the stats, I be beating the odds. And the blood, it be making me calm. Ride the turbine just like I'm Saddam. I'ma blow it just like I'm a bomb. I'ma leave it.
So we're going to be reacting to this particular video somebody sent me. It is about American Aboriginal or Black Indian erasure. And so I will be reacting to the content. I will be adding in my commentary, my factual statements, and also maybe even rejecting some of the commentary. So shout out to everybody in the building. Drop a fire emoji. If you haven't had a chance to support the channel, go ahead and support the channel, family. Support the channel that supports the lineage. All right, family, support the channel that supports the lineage. Cash App information is in the chat. Let's get right into it.
If you comb through America's oldest census records, you will find names and birthplaces simply listed as Black Indian. No controversy, no confusion, just fact.
Boom. No controversy, no bullshit, just facts. And a lot of us have this repeated history of templated archaeological meticulous records that definitely describes and invoke that our people were classified as American Aborigine or Indians. So why in history has this been erased from mainstream narrative and mainstream history? Shout out to everybody in the building. We're going to be cracking open and decoding and breaking the chains and breaking all patterns of history, labeling and establishing the history and the claims of our indigenous heritage. Shout out to everybody in the building that's representing American Indian, American Aboriginal, and lineage. And shout out to my FBA brothers that are now doing their genealogy, tapping into their indigenous roots. So let's get back into some more of this heat. Let's go.
America's oldest census records, you will find names and birthplaces simply listed as Black Indian. Controversy, no confusion, just fact. But before the century turned, those same identities quietly vanished from official memory, replaced by new labels and silence. They were erased, not by war, but by paperwork.
By paperwork. We're talking about one of the biggest acts of wars against humanity that was done amongst indigenous Aboriginals, quote unquote, Black Indians, was the paper genocide process. We understand that we wasn't physically nor was we spiritually removed. We were removed from the records. We were removed from identifying as who we are by a nation and heritage state, by gentrification and genocide of paper. We're talking about the process that I'm calling paper genocide. Let's go.
Why did America need Black Indians hidden, and what else disappeared with them? The earliest records kept by colonists and census takers, Black Indians were documented in plain sight. Colonial journals from the 1700s.
Do y'all hear that? Black Indians were identified in plain sight, meaning on the spot. There was no confusion. There was no denying the fact that indigenous people, aka colored, Negro, Black Americans, were in fact the Black Indians or Aboriginal peoples of this motherfucking land, y'all. Drop a fire emoji. We already in here with the heat, man. I need y'all to turn me up.
Return. Those same identities quietly vanished from official memory, replaced by new labels and silence. They were erased, not by war, but by paperwork. Why did America need Black Indians hidden, and what else disappeared with them? In the earliest records kept by colonists and census takers, Black Indians were documented in plain sight. Colonial journals from the 1700s describe villages where Native and African people lived side by side, sometimes sharing families, customs, and land.
See, that's one of the things that I got to talk about, because that's one of the things that we highlighted within the 103 facts about the Black Indian of the Western Hemisphere. That one of the biggest misconceptions is that Black Indians is a result of Africans mixing with Native Americans, when in fact the original people or the natives of America were in fact already melanated with various different color and skin tones, all revoking the Negroid stock. So us mixing with Native American is a fallacy, and you guys know that to be a fallacy based off of the 103 facts that we showed so far. I think we made it up to fact number 29. So up to that point, you have facts to go against the misconception and the pseudo history that has been placed. So every time you guys see or hear a misconception, I want you to hashtag 103 facts in the chat. Right now, family, hit that like button. We got 159 already in here. I do need all 159 people in here to hit that like button and share this on your social media. Make a quick post on your Facebook, Instagram, and most importantly, drop this on your Twitter, family. All right, so let's get back into some of this heat.
These accounts do not have,
like I said, anytime we hear a misconception or see a misconception, I want y'all to hashtag 103 facts. I want y'all to hashtag 103 facts.
from the 1700s describe villages where Native and African people live side by side, sometimes sharing families, customs, and land. These accounts do not hesitate or hedge. They speak of Black Indians as a matter of fact. In 1790, the first U.S. Census began grouping people by color and freedom status. Even then, some regional records named individuals as Black Indian or Mixed Indian with no footnotes and no explanations. In Maryland's 1776 census, surviving fragments list the first names of dozens of enslaved people, some noted in local tax records as Indian Negroes or Negroes and Indians together.
Now, what I'm saying is, I'm not negating the fact that our people were possibly in this process that we call slavery, but I need people to really understand that slavery wasn't much different than how slavery is on the books today. So, what do I mean by that? I mean by the 13th Amendment defined process of what it means. How it's broke down. The 13th Amendment still actively has slavery on the book. It was abolished for illegal slavery and reprimanded to be legally on the books according to the United States Constitution. In the 13th Amendment, you are a slave or actively in involuntary servitude once committed a crime or entered inside of a jail. And I believe that process of slavery, it wasn't much like difference than what it was in the past to what we see today. That's just my approach to how I see history and slavery and how it applies to the people here in America. Shout out to my brother, I Can Do It All, for even applying that statement.
With no footnotes and no explanations. In Maryland's 1776 census, surviving fragments list the first names of dozens of enslaved people, some noted in local tax records as Indian Negroes or Negroes and Indians together. By 1835, a census of the Cherokee Nation reported that 1 in 10 citizens had African ancestry. Early census sheets from the 1820s and the 1830s sometimes included columns for free colored persons living in Native households, entries that, in their own handwriting, confirmed the presence of Afro-Indigenous families. One census enumerator in North Carolina in 1830 wrote a single line listing Sarah as Indian, Black complexion, age 34, free. These are not rumors or legends. They are the government's own words, written in ink that has not faded. The names and categories were ordinary then, as if everyone understood who lived in these borderlands. There was no controversy and no anxious correction, just a record of who was there. Before the lines were redrawn, before the label changed, the existence of Black Indians was an administrative fact. The proof sits in the...
Y'all hear that? Before the brainwashing, whitewashing, and the American Aboriginal erasure, documentation of Negroes and coloreds being the, in fact, Indians were obvious. It was in an abundance. Do y'all hear me, family? We're here cooking. Let me just chop it up with the family. Do y'all hear what I'm saying? Do y'all hear what this particular video is elaborating on? Are y'all with me? Do y'all hear this? This should be some heat. Y'all should be clipping this. Y'all should be most certainly clipping this, family. Y'all know this is some heat. Let's get back into it, man. Let me go and check the chat real quick just to see if we got some family in here that got any questions. For those that's in here, hit that like button. And if you haven't had a chance to support the channel, support the channel. Support the channel that supports the lineage. Shout out to everybody in the building. The more y'all hit that like button, the more y'all share the live stream. It definitely helps with us being in the algorithm. So I really definitely do appreciate you guys. Shout out to the real ones in the building. It ain't nothing but love. Y'all already know. Shout out to the indigenous aborigines, the true searchers and the researchers. that's in the building. I do appreciate that. But if y'all ready to get back into some more of this heat, drop a fire emoji and let's go.
For the stats, I be beating the odds. In the blood, it be making me calm. Ride the turbines just like I'm Saddam. I'ma blow it just like I'm a bomb. I'ma leave it.
In 1830 wrote a single line listing Sarah as Indian, black complexion, age 34, free. These are not rumors or legends. They are the government's own words, written in ink that has not faded. The names and categories were ordinary then, as if everyone understood who lived in these borderlands. There was no controversy and no anxious correction, just a record of who was there. Before the lines were redrawn, before the labels changed, the existence of Black Indians was an administrative fact. The proof sits in the ledgers, quiet but undeniable, waiting for the moment when the story would be told differently. Open the catalogs of America's vast archives, and the silence is louder than any denial.
Right. The silence is louder than any denial that it was an administrative fact that the so-called Black people in America were in fact the American Indians. And that history was been denied. It was being covered up. It was literally been deliberately hidden by the United States government on purpose, family. Are y'all listening to me? Drop the fire emoji. Share this live stream. We about to get into some heat today. We ain't gonna be here for a long time. We're gonna be in here for a strong time. You understand what I'm saying? The ancestors came to me, like I said last week before I gave the conversation on degeneracy behavior in the community. And the ancestors said, get back to what created your channel, what made your channel grow. Get back to the information, get back to the heat, get back to the connection with the family of culture, customs, and traditions. And that's what we're here to do. So, it's my honorable duty to make sure we bring high quality and fire live streams pertaining to the culture and the history of our people. No more degeneracy is going to be displayed on this particular platform. So shout out to everybody that's in the building. Let's go.
Search for photographs labeled Black Indian or Afro-Indigenous, and the results come back nearly empty. The records are not just missing, they were never cataloged, never preserved under those names. The void is not accidental. It is a kind of evidence in itself, a blank space where thousands of lives and families should be. Museums hold rows of portraits, but the faces are sorted by what someone else decided to see. Negro, Indian, colored, rarely both. Census records after the 1840s dropped the language of Black Indian that was once ordinary. Tribal roles, land deeds, and government files began to split people into new categories, erasing the overlap that had always existed in daily life. The absence of labeled footage is not a gap in history. It is the result of deliberate choices. Archivists, census takers, and clerks were told what to write and what not to write. As laws hardened, the paperwork began to do the work of erasure. Entire communities were renamed or left out, their stories scattered across ledgers under different labels. The silence in the archives is not a mystery. It is the mark of a system that decided some identities were too inconvenient to record. The missing images, the empty search results, the faded columns, these are not accurate.
So, it ain't a question that our family is having difficulties finding the connections between Black Americans and their true indigenous Aboriginal roots. It ain't that you're not doing enough research. It ain't that your ancestors wasn't right. It ain't that the European is telling the correct story. The facts of the matter remain is that the United States government had an orchestrated plan to remove, hide, and erase the Aboriginal history and how it connects to the so-called Black Americans. We're literally dealing with paper genocide and what I'm calling American Aboriginal erasure. All right.
It's the result of deliberate choices. Archivists, census takers, and clerks were told what to write and what not to write. As laws hardened, the paperwork began to do the work of erasure. Entire communities were renamed or left out, their stories scattered across ledgers under different labels. The silence in the archives is not a mystery. It is the mark of a system that decided some identities were too inconvenient to record. The missing images, the empty search results, the faded columns, these are not accidents.
It's not accidents. Like I told y'all just a second ago, this is a deliberate plan. Let me check in with the family to see if there are any questions, comments, or statements that I want to highlight, making sure we're engaged with the family in the chat. Shout out to Mama Chief, aka Mama Chief Powelton, 1442. She said, great continuation, little cousin Bap. Good move. I definitely had a conversation with my 17th great grandpa, and we need that work. Let's get it. Real Indian business. I second that. Shout out to Mama Chief. We do appreciate that wise words of encouragement. And the ancestors did come to me and told me I do have work to do. So you're absolutely right about that. All right. You're absolutely right about that. And I'm with you. We hear it. You're going to see it. I'm not even going to talk about it. We're going to let actions speak louder than words, family. I'm going to say it again. We're going to let actions speak louder than words. That's what we want. So shout out to everybody that is in the building. Hit that like button and thumb up the video. Let's get a few people to support this live stream, man. We here cooking. This is the second one in a row. We on a whole different topic, but we on the whole same topic. It don't switch up too much from the culture. Let's go.
The empty search results, the faded columns, these are not accidents. They are the fingerprints of a policy that made Black Indian identity disappear with a pen and a file box. This is how a people can be erased, not from the land, but from the memory of the nation. In 1887, Congress passed the Dawes Act, a law that would change the fate of indigenous nations across the United States. The Dawes Act ordered that communal tribal lands be divided into individual plots, but it also demanded a new kind of record keeping. Every person entitled to land had to be listed by name on an official roll. 11 years later, the Curtis.
Now, this is what gave credence. They figured out a plan. We're not going to tell the real Indians about these rolls. And what we're going to do is go fill out and sign our names. And even when we get pushback, we're going to give them some money on the side. We should give them 10 cents. No, 10 cents won't be enough. They won't let us sign the Dawes rolls for that. How much should we give them? $4.99, aka the story of the $5 Indian family. Let's go.
Dawes Act ordered that communal tribal lands be divided into individual plots, but it also demanded a new kind of record keeping. Every person entitled to land had to be listed by name on an official roll. 11 years later, the Curtis Act of 1898 stripped away the last protections for tribal governments and forced the 5 tribes of Indian Territory, Cherokee.
So if y'all not familiar with the Curtis Act, go and look up the Curtis Act stripped away like he said, the remaining protections. You see what I'm saying? So that's a crucial particular act that definitely affected the last stride and effort of the indigenous peoples that was fighting against the corrupt government to withhold and maintain their nation's integrity and heritage state. Okay? So it's very, very serious business that we're dealing with, which is why I don't see why people is as serious as you guys and I am about this indigenous heritage. Everything is not fun and games. We actually got a lot of work to do if we really wanted to see determination changes within our society, and actually that's going to actually affect and benefit the youth. If we want a better future for the next generation, we got to be the ones that apply it. So shout out to the ones that's really out here applying it, and shout out to the ones that's really out here putting in the work. I truly appreciate you. You see what I'm saying? I do. I truly appreciate you. Let's get back to this heat, though.
For tribal governments and forced the 5 tribes of Indian Territory, Cherokee, Creek, Choctaw, Chickasaw, and Seminole to submit to federal enrollment. The Dawes Commission, set up to carry out this process, invented a system of categories that would decide the future of every applicant. There was the BY Blood roll, reserved for those the commission accepted as native by lineage. There was the Freedmen roll, for people of African descent who had once been enslaved by tribal citizens or who traced their roots to Black Indian families. There were also rolls for intermarried whites, adopted citizens, and denied cases. The labels were not just words. They determined who would receive land, who would be recognized as a tribal citizen, and who would be left out. Applicants sat before examiners, answering questions about family, ancestry, and community. The commission had the power to decide, often with little evidence, which role a person belonged on. For many Afro-Indigenous families, the outcome was already written. Even with clear ties to the tribe, they were placed on the Freedmen roll, separated from relatives listed as BI Blood. This paperwork split families, erased shared history, and locked generations into categories that could not be changed. The Dawes and Curtis Acts turned identity into administration, a system where a check mark on a form could erase a nation's memory. John Horse was born in Spanish Florida.
Let me ask you guys a question in the chat. I want to engage with the chat. I want to see if you guys can answer this. Do you guys have any knowledge or any stories of any one of your ancestors in your lineage that was American Indian on documented or administrative records that were later on changed to Negro, Black, or colored? If you do, type those stories right now in the chat. Hit that like button. We're going to get right back to the chat's comment right after this. Let's go.
For the stats, I be beating the odds. Then the blood, it be making me calm. Ride the turbines just like I'm Saddam. I'ma blow it just like I'm a bomb. I'ma leave it.
All right. Do any of y'all got any of those stories of American Aboriginal or American Indian erasure? If you do, type them in the comment section. We want to highlight those and talk about those that's in your family. Come hit those like buttons. Thumb up the video and support, family. Come and support. Let me know if y'all got those stories. Matter of fact, I'll give y'all enough time to formulate them. We're going to take a quick break. I need to go get me something to drink. I didn't get a chance to refill before this second live. So I'll be right back in a second. Hit that like button. Do not go nowhere. You got a minute or so, minute and a half to go use the bathroom, maybe get something to drink. We'll be right back in a minute and a half. Shout out to everybody.
Snakes and the rats and the cops, so I gotta hide it. All on my top, put all of my dick in the stomach, I give it a Heimlich. Really was broke, I come from the bottom of New York, now I need the finest. All of my bitches, they be the finest. All of my diamonds, they be the finest. All of my fabrics, they be the finest. But on the ladder and came at Stagger. All of these VVs, now they blind. I know my persona, really enticing. Right on that pussy, just like I'm Tyson. Hit on that pussy, just like it's lightning. Back to that money, I'm not dying. I got a touch for the money like Midas. Out to my hood, I try to unite it. I know the feds, they wanna indict it. Gun on my leg, I come invited. Run on with drip. Them boys are biting, she love with me, got her excited. She like the nigga, no stones on my eyes. And I got a touch for the money like Midas. After my hood, I try to unite it. I'm on the block with the snakes and the rats and the cops, so I gotta hide it. All on my top, put all of my dick in the stomach, I give it a Heimlich. Really was broke, I come from the bottom of New York, now I need the finest. All of my bitches, they be the finest. All of my diamonds, they be the finest. All of my fabrics, they be the finest. Put on the ladder and came back striking. All these VVs, now they blind. No one persona, really enticing. Bought on that pussy, just like I'm Tyson. Hit on that pussy, just like I'm lightning. Best of that money, I'm not dying. I got a tough for the money like Midas. I got a tough for the money like Midas. I got a tough for that money like Midas. All of my bitches, they be the finest. All of my diamonds, they be the finest. All of my fabrics, they be the finest. They be the finest. They be the finest. They be the finest. They be the finest.
Shout out to everybody in the building. We are back from the quick little break. Make sure y'all smack that like button, thumb up the video, and support the channel. Shout out to Jeremy Royster for putting those links in the chat. Make sure y'all go shop with BAP Clothing. Store. If you want to shop Aboriginal, bring it back to the culture, something that represents the brand, the nation, and our struggle, right? And now our perseverance and our triumphant. Make sure y'all go shop with BAP, man. That's Store. Go shop with Aboriginal Power merch, man. We got some stuff down there that you guys are like. Trust me, I know you guys will love it. All right. Shout out to everybody that's in the building. Also, hit that like button, support the channel if you haven't had a damn chance to. We definitely want you guys to hit that like button and support the channel. Also, family, shout out to Jeremy Royster once again for dropping a link to my latest interview collab with the 3 Milli Production Podcast YouTube channel. 3 Milli Productions YouTube channel, excuse me. Make sure y'all go check out the latest interview that was dropped over there featuring me, your brother, Aboriginal Power. You know, we came over there and represented and held it down for the lineage. Go check it out. Get in the comment section. Let the world know how y'all feel about it and express the lineage. Y'all already know. Let's get back into some more of this heat, though. But let's get back into some more of this heat. Shout out to everybody that's in the building.
History and locked generations into categories that could not be changed. The Dawes and Curtis Acts turned.
Hold on. Before we get into the Dawes and Curtis Acts, let's go through some of this family lineage that the family is talking about in the chat real quick. How rude of me to skip over the family like that. Okay. So listen, my brother Tojo Coppertone Chief said, I definitely do got those stories about my fourth great uncle, Joe Pittman, was classified Indian or mulatto on some particular records. He was placed in a freeman's tax list and later on reclassified to black. Damn, brother, that is crazy. I appreciate you bringing out those real factual records from your own personal lineage, brother. That means a lot. I appreciate that. My brother Yost said Grandma Henrietta Wangways became Harrison Kautaba. The McFadden family had information about my grandmama, the McCray, and the McQueens too. The McBrides was another family as well. Damn, man, I appreciate those particular records, brother Yost. Do anybody else have those stories in your family that was told or that was probably passed down, or how one of your ancestors were labeled or documented on census or administrative records as Indian, and then later on reclassified and mislabeled as Negro, Black, or Colored? Tamiri Boy also said, yeah, my ancestor, Joseph Harris, nickname was Indian Joe. Throughout the West Tennessee, aka Shelby County, in the 1990s, a white historians later changed it to Free Joe. Dang, man, that is absolutely insane to American boy. That is wild, and I appreciate you for sharing that glimpse into the misuse and the mislabeling of your ancestors, bro. It got to be highlighted of the harmful things that they did to our ancestors, and we are a product and a victim of this paper genocide. But if y'all ready to get back into some more of this heat, I do want y'all to smack those like buttons, and let's get at least 6 people to support this live stream right here. Let's get at least 6. I'm not going to ask again. This is the last. Let's get 6 to support. Let's get back into some of this heat. So shout out to the FBA family that's listening in, and shout out to my American Indian Aboriginal family listening.
Identity into administration, a system where a check mark on a form could erase a nation's memory. John Horse was born in Spanish Florida, the son of an enslaved African woman and a Seminole father, at a time when freedom was always in question. He became the leader of the Black Seminoles, a people who found themselves caught between 3 worlds, Native, African, and the rising white republic that wanted neither. During the Second Seminole War in the 1830s, John Horse stood before U.S. generals and Seminole chiefs alike, demanding liberty not just for himself, but for hundreds of Black families who had lived alongside the Seminole for generations. He spoke 3 languages, fought in 2 armies, and crossed 3 countries to keep his people from being dragged back into slavery. In 1849, after years of broken promises and threats from Creek slave raiders, John Horse led nearly 100 black Seminoles out of Indian Territory. Their destination was Mexico, where slavery was outlawed. There, the Mexican government granted them land in exchange for military service. For a time, they found safety, but the struggle never ended. Even in exile, John Horse wrote letters and sent petitions asking the U.S. government to recognize the black Seminoles as rightful members of the nation they had fought beside and bled for. The bureaucracy never answered. On paper, the black Seminoles were listed as Negroes, runaways, or freedmen, never as Seminole. When the Dawes Commission arrived decades later to divide up tribal land, John Horse had already died in Mexico. But his
Now, earlier I asked the chat, who will be one of those Aboriginal or Black American Indian heroes that was not talked about in history books in school, that should have been talked about in school? Somebody in the chat mentioning John Horse. So shout out to the brother that mentioned John Horse. We're going to give you a little bit of back history on John Horse right now. So hit that like button, support the channel. Let's go.
Fought beside and bled for. The bureaucracy never answered. On paper, the black Seminoles were listed as Negroes, runaways, or freedmen, never as Seminole. When the Dawes Commission arrived decades later to divide up tribal land, John Horse had already died in Mexico. But his descendants and those he led were placed on the freedmen rolls and stripped of tribal identity and land rights. For John Horse, the fight was always against erasure by paperwork. His victories lived in memory and in the courage of his people, but the files told a different story.
Right. Let's look at some of these meticulous records right here. See, you know that they started rechanging shit after death. And see, we don't go back and start looking at the recorded records of how the state or the government is identifying our loved ones or our ancestors or our parents after they transition. Oftentimes, the name change and the gentrification and paper genocide sometimes even starts after the life of an Aboriginal on this plane of existence.
The harm was not just in what was denied, but in how a nation could erase a leader and his people with the stroke of a pen. That was bureaucratic erasure, quiet and final on paper. Oil pooled beneath the red dirt of Oklahoma, and for a brief moment, black families who had survived the Dawes paperwork found themselves holding deeds to land no one expected to be valuable. Greenwood, known as Black Wall Street, rose from these allotments.
When they say Greenwood, they talking about Greenwood, South Carolina, or is it North Carolina? Because it's both. I believe they're talking about the Carolinas for sure, because both of them were thriving, black, booming Aboriginal towns and cities at the height of at the peak of their city sanction. Excuse me, family. Sorry about that. Getting a little tongue tied. But listen, let's go back to see which one he's talking about. He's talking about Greenwood, South Carolina, North Carolina. Let's go.
The red dirt of Oklahoma. And for a brief moment, black families who had survived the Dawes paperwork found themselves holding deeds to the land.
Okay, he's talking about Oklahoma. Thank you, not a coincidence. I appreciate that without you being such a stifler and a pain in the ass. I appreciate your history. I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate you for giving me the answer.
No one expected to be valuable. Greenwood, known as Black Wall Street, rose from these allotments, built by the hands of Cherokee and Creek freedmen, their children, and their grandchildren. In 1921, that wealth became a target. Over 2 days, white mobs set fire to 35 city blocks, burning homes.
And now in our last live stream, we also discussed how the Indians that went on the Trail of Tears were in fact black people, the people that were later on classified and Negroed and colored were the ones that went to Oklahoma. And then obviously went to reservational lands. Some obviously started and incorporated their own lands. You see what I'm saying? So let's get into some more of this heat.
businesses, and churches to the ground. Between 100 and 300 men, women, and children were killed. The records of ownership, deeds, tribal allotment papers vanished in the flames, along with proof of generational wealth. Paper erasure had prepared the ground. When violence came, there was nothing left to protect those whose existence had already been written out. For some, the loss was not just land or money, but the last trace of who they were supposed to be. Identity is still measured, counted, and challenged today. In the 2020 census, thousands of people who claim both Black and Native ancestry were missed or forced to choose one box, leaving whole families invisible on paper. Laws and tribal constitutions still use Dawes-era categories, dividing descendants of freedmen from those listed by blood. Marilyn Vann, a Cherokee freedman descendant, spent decades fighting in federal court to restore citizenship for families like hers. In 2017, a judge ruled that the Cherokee Nation must honor the 1866 treaty rights of freedmen, but the struggle continues. DNA tests offer answers for some, but not everyone's story fits a lab result. Oral history, family Bibles, and memories still carry what documents tried to erase. The fight is not over. Black Indians are still here, refusing to disappear, even when the paperwork says otherwise. Today, the erasure of Black Native identity is valuable. Greenwood, known as Black Wall Street, rose from these allotments, built by the hands of Cherokee and Creek freedmen, their children, and their grandchildren. In 1921, that wealth became a target. Over 2 days, white mobs set fire to 35 city blocks, burning homes, businesses, and churches to the ground. Between 100 and 300 men, women, and children were killed. The record of ownership, deeds, tribal allotment papers vanished in the flames, along with proof of generational wealth. Paper erasure had prepared the ground. When violence came, there was nothing left to protect those whose existence had already been written out. For some, the loss was not just land or money, but the last trace of who they were supposed to be. Identity is still measured, counted, and challenged today. In the 2020 census, thousands of people who claim both Black and Native ancestry were missed or forced to choose one box, leaving whole families invisible on paper. Laws and tribal constitutions still use Dawes-era categories, dividing descendants of freedmen from those listed by blood. Marilyn Vann, a Cherokee freedman descendant, spent decades fighting in federal court to restore citizenship for families like hers. In 2017, a judge ruled that the Cherokee Nation must honor the 1866 treaty rights of freedmen, but the struggle continues. DNA tests offer answers for some, but not everyone's story fits a lab result. Oral history, family Bibles, and memories still carry what documents tried to erase. The fight is not over. Black Indians are still here, refusing to disappear, even when the paperwork says
I'm on the block with the snakes and the rats and the cops, so I gotta hide it. All on my top, put all of my dick in the stomach, I give it a Heimlich. Really was broke, I come from the bottom of New York, now I need the finest. All of my bitches, they be the finest. All of my diamonds, they be the finest. All of my fabrics, they be the finest. But on the ladder and came at Staggy. All of these VVs, now they blind. I know my persona, really enticing. But on that pussy, just like I'm Tyson. Hit on that pussy, just like it's lightning. Man, for that money, I'm not dying. I got a touch for the money like Midas. Out to my hood, I try to unite it. I know the feds, they wanna indict it. Gun on my leg, I come invited. Run over drip, them boys I'm biting. She love with me, got her excited. She like that nigga, no stones on my eyes. And I got a touch for the money like Midas. Out to my hood, I try to unite it. I'm on the block with the snakes and the rats and the cops, so I gotta hide it. All on my top, put all of my dick in the stomach, I give it a Heimlich. Really was broke, I come from the bottom of New York, now I need the finest. All of my bitches, they be the finest. All of my diamonds, they be the finest. All of my fabrics, they be the finest. But on the ladder and came at Staggy. All these VVs, now they blind. No more persona, really enticing. But on that pussy, just like I'm Tyson. Hit on that pussy, just like I'm lightning. Best of that money, I'm not dying. I got a tough for the money like Midas. I got a tough for the money like Midas. I got a tough for that money like Midas. All of my bitches, they be the finest. All of my diamonds, they be the finest. All of my fabrics, they be the finest. 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 Yeah.
When you hear the word Indian, your mind jumps to feathers, tippis, and Hollywood's red-painted extras. But you don't picture dark skin, tight curls, wide noses. You don't picture people who look like us. That's not by accident. That's by design. America wrote the script so you'd see Native and African as separate, never as kin, never as one. But the lie cracks quick if you look at the evidence. Carvings of dark-skinned figures in ancient America. The giant Olmec heads with African features. Carved centuries before Columbus.
Now, see, that's the shit that I don't like when we start looking at people trying to give their synopsis on our history. They always equate the features of an American Aboriginal to African features. And that's not by mistake. That is most certainly done by design. And this is why it's always going to be an uphill fight by going against mainstream conventional history when we're going against it with the real history that has obviously been covered up. You feel what I'm saying? I do want to drop the link in the chat for anybody that want to come on. We're going to have an open panel. All discussions is welcome. I will even suggest maybe even some smoke. We got a few people that's in the building with us right now as we speak. We got like 189 in here, man. I told you I wasn't going to be in here for a long time. I was going to be in here for a good time. All right. We weren't going to be in here for a long time. We was going to be in here for a good time. So, yeah, man, salute to everybody that is in the building. Hit that like button, thumb up the video, and support the channel. Let's get back to some more of this heat. All right, let's get back into some more of this heat. But before we do that, man, we're going to get ready to get the hell up out of here. Shout out to everybody that's in the building. Peace and blessings. I'll see y'all on the other side. It's your brother, Aboriginal Power.
Snakes in the rats in the cops, so I gotta hide it. All on my top, put all of my dick in the stomach, I give it a Heimlich. Really was broke, I come from the bottom of New York, now I need the finest. All of my bitches, they be the finest. All of my diamonds, they be the finest. All of my fabrics, they be the finest. Put on the ladder and can't match diving. All of these VVs, now they blind. I know my persona, really enticing. Bet on that pussy, just like I'm Tyson. Hit on that pussy, just like it's lightning. Back to that money, I'm not dying. I got a touch for the money like Midas. Out to my hood, I try to unite it. I know the feds, they wanna indict it. Gun in my leg, I come invited. Run over drip. Them boys are biting, she love with me, got her excited. She like that nigga, no stones on my eyes. And I got a touch for the money like Midas. After my hood, I try to unite it. I'm on the block with the snakes and the rats and the cops, so I gotta hide it. All on my top, put all of my dick in the stomach, I give it a Heimlich. Really was broke, I come from the bottom of New York, now I need the finest. All of my bitches, they be the finest. All of my diamonds, they be the finest.